Hey, what's up, Integrity fam? We're back with episode 11 of Hacker Heroes. And in today's episode, we are talking to a person who has 275,000 followers on YouTube. And I'm speaking of John Hammond. And of course, we are talking to him about CTFs, about hacking in general, and about his YouTube channel right now in the interview. Hey John, how's it going? I'm super excited that you're on the show today with us.
Hey there, Pascal. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to hang out with you guys and very happy to chat.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking your time today. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit about yourself? Who's John Hammond?
Oh, sure. It's a can of worms, I guess. No. Hey, hi, hello. My name is John Hammond. I work as a senior security researcher kind of for my day job to pay the bills. But online, I like to showcase some cybersecurity videos, training and content and exercises. I have a YouTube channel, silly, cheesy YouTube channel where I post a lot of like capture the flag walkthroughs and write-ups and try to work through war games and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a passion. It's just I don't know, something that I try to do what I can.
That sounds amazing. When was it that you realized, oh boy, I really want to get into IT. I really want to get into InfoSec. How old were you at that point?
That's a super good question. Because I think you know how every kid, like everyone growing up, says, oh, I want to make video games, or I want to be a hacker, or they want to do something crazy, whether it's go to space or something. I remember I had asked my dad, because my dad he owns a radio station. He's sort of a network engineer, system administrator, super cool guy, deep in the tech space, but not strictly in security. I had asked him hey, Dad, I want to have my own website because I think that's cool. And I figured that's one good way to get started. And he taught me basic HTML or basic CSS. And I think I was 9 at that point. I was really interested. I wanted to learn. And then I was like, all right, Dad, well, if I'm going to have this website, I want to have a server. I need to be able to host it somewhere. So he got me this big clunky Dell tower. I don't even remember what the thing was. He would run Turbo Linux on his own server, and that introduced me to Linux. So I guess from that young age to maybe middle school, maybe high school, I was more learning about building things and creating things. Okay, here's the programming aspect. Here's the software creation. But then when I went to my undergrad, I went to one of the United States military institutions or the service academies. They care much more about the security of stuff.
Right.
Sure, it's super cool. You can make and build this thing for us, but is it safe? Is it stable? Is it secure? Are people going to break into it? So I played some capture the flag there with all of the other service academies. And that was the first time I'd ever seen that. I'd ever found hacking or that idea of cybersecurity. So that I think was really where it turned on when it started. That would have been maybe 2014, 2015. So I guess 6 or 7 years now, but I don't know. It's so funny to look back
quite a long
on.
time.
Yeah.
What I like about your story is you know, everybody loves mentors, and you kind of had a mentor in your dad, from the age of 9? That is just amazing.
It's cool. I still, whenever I see him and we go out, father, son, hey, let's get together again. Let's go have some lunch or dinner somewhere. I'll talk nerdy with him. And there's no one else in our family that is relatively computer savvy or technically inclined. So it's everyone else at the dinner table just fades away because we nerd out together.
Let them do their thing.
But yeah. I don't think he's strictly as into security and vulnerabilities and exploits and bug bounty and pen testing and all those things in our world. But he can still talk the talk when I'm I was looking at this Node.js application or whatever. And it's cool. It's very cool to have someone to bounce ideas back off of, or just to vent in a weird way. And not even that, but I don't know, just have the conversations about what you're working with on the keyboard.
Right. John, you're mentioning that you're currently a senior security researcher. Can you let us know what that means and how a typical day at work looks like for you?
Yeah. So by no means is this any a commercial or advertisement for my employer. I don't mean to be. I have to put in the disclaimer. I'm not speaking for them or whatever. But no, I work at a cybersecurity and vendor Huntress. They're a software as a service organization that kind of provides managed threat detection for MSPs or managed service providers and the downstream small to medium businesses that they might support. We put together an agent that will look and monitor for hackers' persistent footholds, or like the backdoor or the implant or the way that the malware maintains access on a victim or target computer. So it's super cool. For one thing, I love it. And I'm under their threat operations department, which is sort of an analyst role, but also sort of a researcher role, but also sort of a reverse engineer malware analyst role. It's a really interesting amalgamation of all those things. So I'll kind of try to get my hands on some neat malware samples and look through it and understand it, try to figure out the tradecraft, the techniques that they're using, etc. And that's really strictly the technical side on the keyboard of what I do. I am, truthfully, just me, a little bit of a unicorn because, or not to say that in like some pompous way, but in a really weird, distorted way, because I do this sort of thing, because I have the YouTube channel, because I can talk about this, because I present. So oftentimes I kind of get ponied over to the marketing department, like, oh, go do a webinar or go talk to reporters or write a blog post. Just very
I can imagine that. Yeah, they definitely want to have you out there, right, in the public, which makes a lot of sense because you're doing a great job in what you're doing. Quickly want to ask you a question, and I saw that on your LinkedIn page. You're basically having an insane amount of certifications. I was wondering, first of all, how did it come that you ended up having, I don't know what it is, 7, 8, 9 certifications? And did those influence your career in any way? Like, did those like help you on your career path?
So, when I first started entering the workforce, right, or jumping into the industry, I was working as a government contractor over in the United States side, and they needed to hire someone that would have what was 8570, or I think it's now 8140, some sort of like compliance to meet some standard of certifications.
Right.
So they were like, John, we'll bring you on board. We're happy to let you come be part of the team, but you need to get Security Plus, like at minimum, the CompTIA Security Plus. So I went and did that. And that was one of the multiple choice kind of rote memorization, just data dump exams that you kind of check the box.
Yeah.
Right? I knew that I wanted to then go after something that like had a little bit more weight to it. Obviously the OSCP, or the Offensive Security Certified Professional, is some illustrious sort of industry thing that a lot of people kind of know and recognize.
Everybody
the name
loves
for,
it.
Right. So I went after OSCP, and then as I learned and understood more about offensive security, I was thinking like, oh, they offer more than just OSCP, and OSCP is supposed to be like the start. It's like meant to be the foundational beginner thing, which I know is a crazy mind-blowing thought to some folks, because it's tough, but it is like, okay, an entry-level beginner thing. With that, I was like, oh, like I could keep doing this. Like there's more. This is kind of fun, because when you get on keyboard and you're doing the practical application-based thing, I enjoy that. I like that challenge. I like that new learning and training environment. So I have a buddy, and I was living with him at the time, Caleb. I don't know, some folks that kind of keep up with some of my stuff might recognize the name, but him and I were like, dude, wouldn't it be so cool if you could say like, I have all the offensive security certs, and this is just like us being stupid bros,
right,
hanging back and forth. But then we were like, you know what, we should let's take OSCE, like, oh, let's take OSWE, blah blah blah, and that would follow down the line. And I just have fun with it. So then fell into eLearn security, try to do some Python stuff, so people believe me when I say I know Python. I don't know. I really like the hands-on application learning and having a little scratch and sniff sticker, having some stamp of approval once we're done. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I totally see that. All right, let's talk a little bit about your social media and mainly YouTube appearance, because you are all over the place. When was it that you realized I really want to do this YouTube thing? I want to educate people on YouTube.
Ooh, this is a good story. I think there's some long and winding roads to go down here. The way that I learned programming or coding or any semblance of tech, whether it's Python, right? Because a lot of people see me using that. It was all online. It was all on YouTube. I'd look up different tutorials and watch people do different things.
Right.
So I think at some point, again in those earlier younger days, I thought like, oh, if people say the best way to learn is to try and teach it yourself, then maybe I should put together some cheesy, silly tutorials out on the YouTube, out on the internet. And if you look back on a lot of the content, you can find stuff that's like 8 or 9 years old, but it's awful. Like Hypercam 2
I should
in the
definitely
corner.
check it out.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if like maybe my voice is high pitched and I'm using like bad semicolons in Python or commented curly braces, stuff that makes no sense and isn't standard whatsoever. But it's cool to be publicly wrong. Voluntarily go out in the spotlight and just make a fool of yourself, because the internet will tell you when you're doing something wrong.
People are correcting your mistakes, right? And you're like, oh yeah, thank you for telling me.
Yeah, you very quickly learn from it. So that, I think, stockpiled for a while and grew extremely slowly. I think those years from 2010 to maybe 2014 and maybe 2018, blah blah blah, maybe it slowly climbed to like 10,000 subscribers or something, maybe 1,000, I don't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, at some point I had reached out to Live Overflow, Fabian, who's an incredible, fantastic content creator.
Yeah.
Super sweet guy. I got to meet him over in London at the Google Capture the Flag finals, and just awesome all around. But I had reached out when one old Google CTF was running and they had their beginner's quest. They had a small CTF game. And I asked him like, hey man, do you want to, could we collaborate? Could we put together some videos together? And it was a cheesy thing. But I think we had a mutual shout out in each video. And I remember then in 2018, it was like it turned on.
Mm-hmm.
The 10,000 subscribers went to 20,000 subscribers to then 40. And now, like, speaking with you, we're at what, 275,000 or something. So it flourishes, it grows.
Blows my mind.
A lot of fun. I don't know how people watch this crap.
Oh, it's not crap. It's like really, really good stuff. I've watched so many of your videos and I just love them.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
What was your motivation though? Like, just maybe a quick word on that. Was it for you, I want to become popular, or was it I want to get my mistakes corrected by the people out there? What was like the base motivation for starting it?
It's been so long now, I don't think I could give you like the actual correct answer way back then when it started.
Right. Maybe just because it was cool, like the new YouTube thing, right?
When because even then YouTube was much younger, it was very new, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I think as it started to grow more and more, I don't care about the whole like, money or dollar amount or AdSense revenue, stuff like that. I just want to show things that I think are cool, like things that I think are fun.
Right.
I've always had this idea in my head that I'd love to be able to capture in some way or another, like everything that I know, and I could present that or give that to someone else. I think that's a dream that I'm still chasing because like, I haven't shown any videos on like PHP, or I haven't showed any videos on doing something with Node or doing some crazy stuff with like PowerShell or Cobalt Strike, blah, blah, blah. And I'd love to formalize those and package them up. Maybe that's something that I would kind of continue to carry forward, but maybe that's some motivation. It's just like, I just want to keep putting out more things to, I don't know, have these pedestals and packages to give to people and show people. So
but you're already covering this massive variety of topics right now. what would you say is like the core of John Hammond's YouTube channel? Like, what is the how would you summarize your channel in like 2 sentences? What are you covering?
So there's a trajectory. There were original old school programming tutorials that then followed my life and turned into capture the flag write-ups and walkthroughs. And now with what I do for my day job, a little bit of malware analysis and analyzing and deobfuscating code. And now I'm pouring into some other things like the dark web.
Right.
I also try to explore security conferences or interviews with other industry players, recruiters, or career things. I wish I could just be in the umbrella of cybersecurity.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's nice to have this wide variety, I guess. Speaking of your most watched video, though, for a second, it's called Try Hack Me Basic Penetration Testing. Why do you think that so many people were interested in that particular video?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew the golden ingredients that had struck the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't know if it's because it's called basic penetration testing or if there's something in the thumbnail that's somehow flashy or fancy. The Try Hack Me team is incredible and lovely and fantastic. They reached out some time ago, and I knew of them even before they had reached out. Just because I wanted to showcase that as a content, as a platform, as something cool. And then Ben Spring, kind of the Skitty over at Try Hack Me, had just kind of like reached out, and it was totally personable. There again, no conversation of money on the table or anything, but just like, hey, would you like to showcase some of our stuff? And I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the Try Hack Me basic penetration testing video was literally the first Try Hack Me video I think I had ever put out surrounding Try Hack Me.
Okay.
And somehow that skyrocketed. And I mutually beneficial, symbiotic relationship between Try Hack Me and I, because, okay, as that video grows, my channel grows, Try Hack Me gets a little bit more love. I have no idea why it was so well received. And actually, if you look at, this is just a fun Easter egg. Sorry, I know I'm rambling.
Go ahead.
The first couple seconds of the video are cut off. Like it just suddenly starts with me like mid-sentence. And I don't know, and I have no idea why. But I always see that.
Maybe this is what the algorithm needs, like this spontaneous entry into a video. Maybe we should all start doing that.
I guess so. Yeah, mid-sentence, cut off words. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
You touched it like a minute ago, your documentary about the dark web. That was, I guess, something rather new on your channel. Where was this idea coming from to go that way?
There's a lot to unpack on this one, so forgive me. Yeah, so something that I, again, kind of do as part of my day job is just trying to research and understand and find threat intel and silly stuff like that. So I think that the dark web, and whatever you want to call it, some folks the deep web, some folks whatever, and I've said it very vocally, I think that name sounds so silly and cheesy. The corners and crevices of the internet, right, you might be only be able to access through Tor or stuff like that.
Right.
I think that it works as a really great vessel for education. Like, if you were to show a person on the street, hey, check this out, I can go over here and go buy whatever credit card numbers. And whether or not you can or you can't, whether or not it's a scam or it's a fraud, sometimes their eyes lit up and they're still like, whoa, seriously? That stuff's real? And again, whether or not it is real or isn't behind the scenes, it's still the fact that someone can go look at that.
Right.
I think and there's a weird human inclination, how you just, you slow down when you go past a car accident. The weird morbid curiosity, like, what the heck is out there? What is that? So I wanted to bring that to light and show it in the raw, real way, not just like B-roll cuts and flashy stock footage of a thing. When I knew I had this idea and I wanted to do it, I would ask in the security creators group, so other folks like Live Overflow or Insider PhD or NomSec or yourself, Explained, or Jinveil, and I had said, am I crazy for wanting to do this? Because I realize it can get a little risky.
Mhm.
Like you could see some pretty weird, ethically questionable stuff.
Yeah,
on
and we all,
those
and we all
pages
know
of-
that YouTube loves to take down those videos and
Right.
then the entire channel with it. So that's terrible.
Right. So this is the secret sauce. It was recommended to me that YouTube will allow educational content of this sort if it is our educational, artistic, and scientific documentary. So while
So it's all about that word, right? Documentary.
exactly. So even though, yes, people have commented on the videos like, John, this isn't a documentary. WTF are you talking about? I'm like, I know. I'm purposefully calling it a documentary and literally saying those words in the thumbnail in the first 30 seconds of the video, just so the robots don't take me out.
Right. So are you going to do more of those documentaries in the future?
I would like to, yes. I had a lot of pie in the sky ideas for that sort of thing. I'd like to discuss some more ransomware gangs, the sort of stuff that, get in the real news and headlines, or even do some crazy stuff like trying to talk to you. Hey, I had this idea. Let's detonate ransomware inside our virtual machine or like a protected environment.
Yeah.
Get the support key, go talk to the ransomware operators, just figure out what their asking price is. Like, wouldn't that be so cool
It
to see in
is,
a
it
YouTube
is,
video?
yeah. Like I always love those talking to the scammer videos. Those are amazing.
I love that stuff. And I have I also follow that in the YouTube corners. But how do I make that cybersecurity? Because my niche is in this, your niche is in this. It's interesting to try and figure out what the best way to do content and make it more approachable to even folks that aren't in cybersecurity,
Mhm.
so we can pull them in.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like it needs to be how should I say, like easily digestible for people who are not working in that niche.
Yeah.
Quickly want to talk about your success and your public exposure. What has been the biggest surprise to you that has happened to you because of like all of that?
Ooh.
Like anything crazy, any weird invitations, opportunities to
Oh,
talk, to whatever.
Those are, I think, the biggest ones and really the most fulfilling, I'll be honest. Emails, requests, interviews, opportunities like this, certainly. Just even being a person that someone goes up to and says, hey, John, would you be willing to do this chat with me? We'll record it and we'll put it out. Do you want to join this podcast? Can you talk on this news station? Can you be some person on our blog, etc.?
Right.
Really the most fulfilling thing, because I could say, yes, going to Google CTF finals, that invitation was extremely flattering. Being invited to talk at schools and universities to students and kids, when I'm like, hey man, I'm not all that far detached from you guys. I'm a young dude, I'm a baby, but we just have fun, we just learn. And security conferences like DEF CON or plenty of other B-sides, the most surreal thing, and I don't mean to say this as some narcissistic jerk, but when people come up and be like, you're John Hammond. And they're like, bro, can we get a selfie? Can we take a picture together? And I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's really sweet. It warms my heart. But again, not to be some pretentious dude for that. It's cool to see the impact, because a lot of people say like, hey, I got my job because of the stuff that you put out. I got
That's
this new certification.
really nice
because of your
feedback.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you changed my life when I was trying to do some career shift. Like I love that. Or just I don't know how to express it.
Yeah, it's the stuff to work for, right? The reason, the motivation. Like speaking of that again, why we're all doing that. I want to talk a little bit about CTFs. I mean, if I think of YouTubers in our space, if it comes to CTFs, you gotta think of John Hammond. Like you're the first one that comes to my mind of CTFs. And personally, I'm not a big CTF guy, so I want to hear a lot of stuff from your end right now. You obviously being like the professional on that end. So, can you quickly tell me and the audience in short words what a CTF is? And I was also wondering if you've been working or hacking on some of them recently.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a CTF, or a capture the flag, is sort of a Olympic style cybersecurity game or sport. I say Olympic because they're different sort of categories or different things that you might specialize in, whether or not it's cryptography or binary exploitation or web application security or steganography or scripting or miscellaneous or forensics, et cetera, et cetera. Oftentimes that makes up what they call a Jeopardy style game, where you can pick off that certain category for however many point values, and you try to solve some task or some problem. And to prove that you've completed that task, you'll find a flag or like some string of text or digital key or a token that you can submit to the scoreboard. You get points and you move up in the leaderboard. Jeopardy is one flavor or style of game. There's also attack and defense, where you have kind of teams pitted against each other to protect services, etc. You'll also hear different variations of like a hack quest, or there's a storyline that you dig through, solving new tasks and problems. Or you'll also hear a boot to root. And that's very similar to like a try hack me room or a hack the box machine, where you just start the thing up and you're trying to exploit it, take advantage of vulnerabilities. Lots of different ways to represent a CTF.
What was the last one you hacked on?
So recently, and truth be told, of some videos that I've been trying to put out, I played in the Hack the Box business CTF is what they called it. That had a lot of really cool challenges, really neat things. And I have to say, like I'll put this out here without any shame, I am by no means the smartest CTF hacker or the best CTF player. As I mentioned, was at DEF CON just recently, and the folks that play in the Order of the Overflow or even Live Overflow and his stuff, they do much more hardcore binary exploitation. And I have to say, hey, that's over my head. Like, they are so much smarter than me. And there are tons of folks that all have these incredible specialties. I hope that I can be an advocate for Capture the Flag and for this sort of learning and this sort of training. But I'll be the first to say and readily admit, like, no, there are incredible geniuses in the scene, and they're the ones that should be getting this praise. But I hope I can at least be a cheerleader and getting others in the mics too.
I mean, you're definitely one very big reason, I would say, for making CTFs more and more popular. And I think we can see that nowadays, that more and more people are jumping on to the CTF train. Absolutely. With like TryHackMe and all those platforms existing nowadays. Do you see, like, what else is it that makes them so much more enticing to people nowadays? Why are they becoming so popular?
Ooh. I guess there are a lot of different ways to go in that. You could say, when there's a big prize pool or some cash to win at the end.
The money.
That's one element, sort of. I like to think the motivation and encouragement that you get from seeing your name on a leaderboard and trying to think like, ooh, this person is just 50 points above me. If I solve something else, I could pass him. I could get higher on the board and
the competition.
Yeah. I think the competition is an element. I think especially what all these other players have now been doing. You mentioned TryHackMe, Hack the Box, RangeForce. There are tons of others, CryptoHack, Rings, etc. I could go on and on of the other resources and stuff that does this. I think, and the reason that I've been screaming and shouting from the rooftops and all this whole CTF stuff is because this is the most practical and effective and efficient way to learn aspects of cybersecurity, and you do it for real. You're not just talking about it. You're not listening to a PowerPoint and your eyes glaze over. It's active and very engaging, and I think that's why it's so attractive to people, because now people are wanting to do cybersecurity. This is how you do it.
Right.
If you're interested in bug bounty, this is how you learn those chops. If you want to be a red teamer, that's how you learn. If you want to do if you want to do red teaming, penetration testing, or even blue teaming, or any aspect, CTFs distill that learning process down into bite-sized digestible chunks, and you get exposure to so many technologies and so much different kinds of software, hardware, etc. That's why I'm such an advocate, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but that's why.
How do you best start with CTFs? I mean, I guess we have those ones, like TryHackMe, where you can just register, get yourself an account, and start hacking at your own pace, right? But then there is those, I would say, correct me if I'm saying anything stupid here, but like more traditional CTFs that take place at one point during the year and whatever 200 teams are competing at the same time. So it's not at your own pace. You got to be there. You got to be well prepared, and it's on for like 48 hours. How do you best start with those?
Yeah. When people ask how to get started from like the bare bone basics, I tend to tell them like, hey, first learn Linux. A great hands-on thing is Over the Wire and Bandit to get started with that. That's another online, always accessible war game. Just learn Linux. Get familiar with the command line. I suggest people learn a little bit of a scripting language. Your choice, whether that's Perl, whether that's Ruby, whether that's Bash, XYZ.
Python.
I always, I'm a big Python fan.
I got to name Python because that's mine.
Yep. And then after you've done those two preliminary steps, at least to a degree that you feel relatively okay with it, you never know that you're done or you're finished or you've successfully done that. It's just when you're feeling okay and you're bored and want to move on, go play a CTF. That's the third step. Whether or not
where do you find them? Like what am I doing?
So you mentioned those kind of oddball ones that are maybe every weekend or at a certain time where you sit down and you do it for 48 hours or whatever. You can find a lot of those online games at ctftime.org. And what ctftime.org hosts is practically the calendar and schedule for all of the online CTFs. What that means is that you as a beginner might accidentally stumble into some hardcore DEF CON qualifier brain melt category, extremely difficult thing. And that's totally okay. You don't have to play it. You don't have to suffer through that. You don't have to bang your head against the wall. If you want to, you totally can. But every now and again, you might see another game come along that's maybe a little bit more beginner friendly, has some stuff for intermediate or newbie beginner players, and you'll play and try. And again, if you feel like this is really hard or this sucks, I can't solve anything, you're still putting yourself through the experience and you're knowing what those challenges entailed and what that task and that problem was. So after the game ends, you can read the write-ups or the solutions that other players will post and share about, those tasks at hand. And then you'll learn the new tool. You'll learn about the new vulnerability. You'll see how that exploit works. You'll beat yourself over the head like, I thought of that. Why didn't I try that?
Right.
And you'll learn all those lessons of debugging and troubleshooting and stubborn and dedication. You just have to do that over and over and over again. Very iterative repetition. They say practice makes perfect and all that.
How does someone find a team though? Because I know that a lot of CTFs are played in teams, like maybe up to 5 people, 10, 20, even sometimes more than that, right? So if I'm, I work my way through TryHackMe, whatever, and I'm feeling confident, now it's time to start out with CTFs. What's the best way to find a team to compete?
There are a lot of different ways. I went to school, right? I was in university and undergrad, and it's like my friends. It was like my classmates that wanted to play, and you might be lucky enough to be in a group like that. If you're not, and I don't have any other close by individuals in the real world that are into this sort of thing, dude. It's the internet, you can get to Open to All. Open to All is one team that is literally open to everyone. Will accept people that are wanting to join a Capture the Flag team. While you are in the Discord servers or the Slack servers or whatever instant messaging communication platform for TryHackMe, Hack the Box, or that specific CTF you might be playing,
right?
You could just bump into people and be like, hey man, do you mind if I kind of either latch onto you, or can you take me under your wing, or maybe can we form a little team together? Do you want to play this together? We can collaborate. There is absolutely no shame in that. And don't feel weird in that, you're messaging another person, a human being across the screen. Just type it on your keyboard, man.
Yeah, and you will find somebody, right? That said, we do have an Antiquity Discord, by the way, that we are linking down in the description. So if you might want to find a good team, just show up over there and ask a question, just like John has just said.
Absolutely.
one other thing I'm always wondering is there's obviously you can play CTFs, but you can also host CTFs. So what would be a good way to start building one or hosting one?
Ooh.
If somebody would want to do that, I guess that's just way harder, obviously. But like, what would be a good starting point?
Okay. Yeah, this is something that I've kind of started to do with a couple other games. VersetCon, NomCon, ActivityCon, GrimCon, B-Sides, etc. They've all had a CTF component that I've tried to bring to the table. If anyone is interested in starting to host and put on games, I truthfully, if you're in that lucky situation where you're part of a school club or you're in a school team or it's something where you could locally put this on for maybe 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 of your students just to hang out and play, that's easy to do because you can trust your friends and your teammates not to destroy the challenges or break the services.
Right.
RM, TAC RF, the whole thing, when you open it up to the world, then you have a lot more infrastructure things that you need to keep in mind. You are hosting a hacking competition, right? And you have to have insecure applications for them to break, but you also have to make them secure enough that they don't take over your computer or the servers that you're hosting this game on. So oftentimes that means getting familiar with Docker, being able to encapsulate that in some way, or using Kubernetes, or having virtual machines dedicated, or using some orchestration, getting it out into the world with DigitalOcean or Google Cloud Provider or AWS. It turns into a very large DevOps and infrastructure problem alongside the creativity needed for making challenges.
Which you once again can then use straight at your job to help your company, right?
Oh, absolutely.
How much of all that stuff, that's another question I'm always having, like how much of all that stuff that you're learning throughout CTFs do you think is actually can be applied to a Pentest job or to a DevOps job or whatever you're working into, whatever, if you're a developer, how much of that can you directly apply and how much of that is just, super made up that you would not find in the wild?
Do you mean from playing a CTF?
Yeah,
or from trying to host a CTF?
Playing, let's say playing, yeah.
Yeah. I think Capture the Flag inherently leans towards a more red team or offensive or acting as the adversary, much more of a pen tester red team perspective rather than doing blue team stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, yeah, you're going to find vulnerabilities that you might be presented with in a CTF or some exercise or war game that you might literally see in a real pen testing engagement, or you'll know some technique or some tradecraft or some really cool command line, thing that you could do. Pivoting, SSH, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. When you turn it on its head and say, oh, I work for a blue team organization, I like to think myself, I think I would align myself for my day job even into the blue team side, because we're doing defensive work and trying to protect organizations. And while I might be looking at malware and trying to understand how the hackers got in and what they do, I'm deobfuscating their code. I'm reverse engineering what this thing is made up of. Those are all skills I got from Capture the Flag. Just knowing the languages that I'm up against, knowing PowerShell, Visual Basic Script, C#, JScript, MSHDA. Yeah, it's interesting and cool to see how it all plays together. The recent Hack the Box business CTF had a few challenges in their forensics category that was like, hey, here's a phishing document. Here's a Office, Excel, or Microsoft Office Word document that has macros enabled.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure out the badness and the evil that was here. But it's like, oh, this is a strain of the Quackbot malware that literally infected XYZ however many computers.
Right.
Real world impact. That is something that's really cool. And there's absolutely hand-in-hand ties between Capture the Flag and what you see for your job and in the real world.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear. So it's, I guess, just super important for people out there to know that this is not for nothing, right? Go start out, hack on a couple of CTFs, and you will eventually learn skills that you can apply to do whatever you're working into your job, basically. I want to speak a little bit about your personal hacking experience. So I know all CTF boxes are like vastly different, but like, what is the first thing you usually do when you land on a new box?
Ooh, the first thing I do when I land on a box, Linux or Windows?
I don't know.
Either one. Yeah. So for Linux, I will immediately run sudo tackl to see if there's anything easy I can do to privesc. Then I'll try to find set UID binaries. Again, just try and privesc. Find tac perm tac 4000 from the / root directory. And I'll do those kind of by hand because I don't want to kickstart or immediately kick off linps or any other enumeration script right away. Because if I could track that down manually, I don't need to make all that noise.
Right.
On a Windows realm, I'll also do the same, but that's normally like whoami /priv because I want to know, do I have SE impersonate privilege? Do I have SE debug? Any of these weird Windows privileges and tokens that will allow me to do some stuff. Those are normally like my immediate knee-jerk reaction go-to. But then I'll start to look around. I'll snoop around the file system, see what programs are there, see what other weird like miscellaneous artifacts may or may not be there for a reason. And then I'll get started with more enumeration things as I'm banging my head against the wall, not figuring out what to do next.
Okay. Yeah, that's solid advice over there for starters. So people will like write it down or like transcribe it from this video right now. And I mean, you have all of that in your videos, so they should just head over to John Hammond's YouTube channel and check it out because I guess it's all right in there. What is your favorite exploitation technique, either manual or automated? I don't mind. If you could choose one.
Okay. Oh, that's such a hard question.
What do you think is super cool to do? Like whenever you do it, you're like, I feel like a freaking god.
So, personally, I really like web. I like web application security, web exploits, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like finding a old kind of traditional vintage vulnerability like local file inclusion. Super cheesy, super dumb. But if that can be leveraged to do something new, like, let's take this local file inclusion, maybe do some cache poisoning in the logs to, start to leverage that to RCE, remote code execution, so I could do more damage with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, can I leak out some sensitive keys and like proc Environ, or maybe read something that I wouldn't be able to have seen otherwise? There was again, great example of that in the Hack the Box Business ETF. Laravel application had some strange directory traversal thing in the Nginx configuration that wasn't local file inclusion, but it was close enough that you could read sensitive files. When you could take what you learn from having a local file inclusion technique, and then, now I can see source code, or now I see there's some flaw in the application where I could do something else, like server-side template injection. I see XXE. I see cross-site scripting. Right. I think that opens the door for so much more, and that's something that I really have fun with. It's like, it's just finding that Easter egg.
yeah, I can imagine that's the greatest time you have then when it actually works. What would you say is your most important Linux skill? The one you. Yeah, but like inside the command line, like what's the most used command that you run? I mean, it's probably ls, but
yeah, totally ls.
But like speaking of like non-basic Linux commands, like what's the like more like hacky commands? Like what's the most important tool or command you would use?
I would cheat and totally say Python. No, if you can do some voodoo magic with like grep and cut and tr and rev to reverse things and then get them in the proper order and then sort and unique. I know you said obviously those are like the basic commands that folks really know, but if you can chain them all together and pipe them,
make something bigger out of it, right?
Yeah. That I think is the one of the real skills you could do with all that. But you totally have to know what regular expressions you want to pass to grep.
Right. I have a final question for you around hacking. And after that, I have a couple of fun questions for you. But I'm asking this particular question every of our guests. So picture me as this complete newbie right now, 1 week into hacking, not having any experience whatsoever, coming up to you saying, John, please give me one advice. I want to become a hacker. What's the most important thing for me to do?
Oh no. That's so hard.
I know. This is what I'm asking everyone.
Because it's very easy to take a soft answer. It's also very easy to take a tactical, legitimate answer.
Just shoot one. It doesn't matter. Like one that is super important in your opinion.
God, the most important. This sounds so cheesy to say, but the most important thing is that you're having fun. Like the most important thing is that you're looking at something that is engaging and interesting and excites you. Because otherwise, you just get bored and you break it and put it away and you walk away.
That's a fair answer. I'll take that. I will definitely take that.
I don't know how cheap. How many other people have said that?
No, I think you're the first one with that answer.
What?
Yeah. So
everyone's gonna take the tactical, like, oh, go Google. Google's your friend, you know.
Yeah, I think the common one would be try set up stuff by yourself.
Ooh, okay. Again, very tactical, very totally necessary. Yeah.
But yeah, having fun is definitely super important because it wouldn't make sense without fun, right? You would just walk off and do something else. I do have a couple of fun questions for you right now, if you don't mind me asking them.
Absolutely.
All right. I want to know from John Hammond, would you rather record a video called How I Hacked Your Girlfriend's Facebook or How I Deployed Ransomware All Over the Internet?
What a question. Oh my goodness. Would I rather release a video with this name?
Yes.
Oh no. I think I would have to go for the latter.
Yeah.
How I deployed ransomware all across the internet.
I mean, just a little disclaimer over here for the people watching right now. This is something you should not do, and you should not record a video on.
Hypothetical clickbait.
Exactly. I think the second one could work in a way where you actually don't harm anyone. It's like, like clickbaity title, but you only do it in your VM or something like that. Like you said before, right? Like deploying ransomware and playing around with it. Yeah, you actually mentioned that like 20 minutes ago.
The whole How I Hacked Your Girlfriend's Instagram, Facebook, or whatever crap like that is just you're falling on your sword and losing the dignity of a content creator. You just become, oh no, another stale
unsubscribe.
It's really tough balancing act. Yeah.
All right, I got another one for you. So I've looked up, and I did not know them, but I've looked up I used Google and said most ridiculous Linux distributions, and I found two really good ones. Would you rather use Hannah Montana Linux or Hello Kitty Slackware as your go-to distribution for your next YouTube video?
Oh, I knew you were going to bring up the Hannah Montana one. I have to think I would go for the Hannah Montana Linux distribution.
Yeah?
I should seriously do that. That would be fun.
Man, do it. And you could create a super clickbaity title with that. How I Hacked with Hannah Montana or something like that.
Oh, that's incredible. Copyright that.
Yeah, there you go. I will give that to you.
Thank you.
All right, I got another one. Would you rather want to win the Google CTF or the DEF CON CTF? And please don't tell me you have won any of them, because that'd be embarrassing to me right now.
No, absolutely not. They're light years ahead of me. Oh no. I think I would rather win the DEF CON CTF.
Yeah, because it has more like street credit, or what's that?
Yeah, I think so. My our CEO, right, for my day job, has 1 year where him and his team had won the DEF CON CTF.
Oh wow!
years ago, not in one of the modern, well-known team names, but he says in his bio he's won the World Series of hacking. I was like, oh, that's so cool. For again, those individuals and folks that aren't in the realm of cybersecurity and they just don't know everything. It just I don't know. And being able to go back over and over again with the DEF CON black badge would be lovely.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I actually think you will win it at one point. Putting that out there right now.
No.
John Hammond wins DEF CON CTF 2024 headline.
I'd have to get much smarter on binder exploitation.
Well, but you have a team, right? So you don't have to be the expert on all of the parts. Anyway, I have 2 more questions for you. Would you rather compete in a CTF team with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, or in a CTF team with Hollywood actors Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Will Smith?
What? I don't know. I feel like I'd have to. I would go for the former. I'd go for the president and vice president, if just to rub elbows, if just to network, if just to get to know. Hey, if you ever need me, call me up, buddy. So,
I guess it's definitely 2 good contacts to have in your network. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It would probably be more fun though to know Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
It might. It totally would. Yeah, we'd go party afterward.
Exactly. All right, I have one more. Would you rather want to get your diamond YouTube play button or a flight into space together with Elon Musk?
Diamond play button all the time, every day.
Yeah. Me too.
I don't know. I got my silver one way up there, but I know we got to get gold and then all the others. But it's a slow burn, and we'll see.
That's the 100,000, right?
Yes. Yep.
And the diamond is 10 million, I guess. And then there is
holy cow,
those ridiculous ones that only PewDiePie and some people have.
When is PewDiePie going to start to do cybersecurity?
I don't know, but I would love to see people like PewDiePie, Mr. Beast, whatsoever, do some sort of like cybersecurity challenges, or at least one episode. And they should include all of it.
That'd be cool. That'd be a good idea.
That'd be so cool. But
we'll have to reach out. We'll go ask him.
Yeah, but it would probably be like Europeans excluded. So it's like Mr. Beast is obviously in the US, so I would have to fly over. Anyway, John, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Let's wrap this up. Do you have anything you want to share with our audience? Do you have any shout outs or anything that you basically want to give away right now?
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. Well, and hey, this has been a ton of fun. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for letting me come chat and hang out. I appreciate you tolerating my rambling. I know we went on and I'm pretty verbose. Yeah, if folks are interested in the stuff that I do, you could totally cyber stalk me. It should be pretty easy to track me down.
The link is actually going to be in the description straight to your YouTube channel.
You're the best. Thank you so much. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Anyone listening in, don't be a stranger. My DMs are usually pretty flooded, but I'll try to get back to you the best I can. And I super appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you one more time, John Hammond, for taking your time to answer all my ridiculous questions today. In our next episode, we're having somebody who also has quite a big number of followers on YouTube, and I'm speaking of Farah Hava. So make sure to check out our next episode. In the meantime, go down to the comment section, let us know who we should interview, what we should ask those people, give this video a like, and subscribe in the top right corner. I'll talk to you soon.